1835, we're talking property here. This sums it up. Masilunko says property transformation in Indaba is needed. Masilu, have you been eavesdropping on the studio? Because that's what I'm telling Portia, the CEO of the Property Sector Charter Council. Vuyiswa, she's former president of the Black Conveyancers Association. She's gone off. We're bringing in two other guests here. One of them is Vuyiswa Mutshekwane, who's the CEO of the South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners, SAIBPP. I've said it in full for the last time. And then we have Paul Serote, because you listen to the power dynamics in the property transformation, which is what we're talking about, that people who own properties, people who initiate transactions, people who finance these transactions have a say. Now, if the public works has all these transactions happening, whether it's building of schools, whether it's commissioning of new, whatever it is that has property implications, can they tell us maybe what their plans are? Because they are a major buyer of these services. Vuyiswa said the decisions are made much further upstream. So if you are not into the system, or you're not integrated into the system, you're going to find it difficult to penetrate it. And you heard Mario saying you don't stand a chance. You got to learn to speak the language of the industry. And if the boss at the door doesn't look like you, doesn't speak your language, you're out. Tabala Tuka says the entire system needs to be transformed on Twitter. When you buy a property that banks have already dictated to a conveyancing company, you don't choose exactly. I want to know, why can't I choose? Stembile Ndlovu says, I have a paid-up bond and I have asked Standard Bank to provide a black lawyer, and they have refused. I don't even know what you need a black lawyer for there, but maybe you should call us on 0861987000, 0861987000. But let's welcome Paul Serote now. He's the head of property management trading entity of the Department of Public Works. Paul, you've been listening to these conversations. Let's get straight to where public works can help and what are the plans, the key strategic plans or priorities that you have. Welcome.
Thanks, Bravik, and good afternoon to the listeners. We, as the property management trading entity, are a ring-fenced operation within the Department of Public Works. I head that unit.
Yes.
And effectively, it's playing a very important role in terms of the turnaround of the department, particularly the efficiency enhancement phase. We are very proud to have finalized our asset register, which constitutes approximately 92,500 properties, 31,000 land parcels, and a value of at least 112 billion rands. We take a lot of guidance in designing our programs, looking at the National Development Plan, which for us has created a nice platform to start crafting relevant programs to start addressing the issue of transformation. But the transformation is not simply about issues of ownership. We've got many elements that need to be addressed. We have done our own work that tests the state of transformation, and we are still quite concerned as the department at the slow rate of transformation, and we are at a point now where we are implementing a couple of programs that will be driving the transformation.
Give me concrete measures and how much in terms of monetary terms you hope to get this transformation advanced by.
Look, at the moment we are still involved in making sure that first and foremostly transformation of the environment happens in terms of the internal control environment that is sustainable for business to do business with us.
What needs to change
as a department? So we are in the efficiency enhancement phase, as I've indicated. So at the moment we are busy with the supply chain and procurement management reforms.
Okay, tell me about procurement reforms. What are you going to change?
The first thing that we will be changing is a total approach to the way that we manage our accommodation. In fact, as I speak this week, we will be sending out our first request for proposal to invite potential landlords to register with us, and we will be implementing in the new year. But the point that I wanted to deal with is that this is moving together with developments that are happening within the National Treasury. For instance, there is a framework for supply chain management specific to leasing in government that will be released in March, as an example. We are currently reviewing our property employment policy, which will then be guiding the programs that we are busy with. So in essence, it's dealing with issues of education, skills development and training, small business development through enterprise development, access to markets and finance, market development and economic empowerment, policy development, advocacy and recognition, enforcement, monitoring and evaluation.
Okay. Hold on. I mean, I acknowledge that government will have to have a policy that's as comprehensive as possible. But Vuyiswa is on the line, Black Conveyancers Association. You have Vuyiswa here, Mutshekwane, who is the CEO of SAIBPP. These are people with policies and strategies and programs. What chance do they stand if they came through to you straight and said, yes, we acknowledge you're still working on the policy and other strategies, but we have a direct request. It's in line and in keeping with transformation targets. We have done our homework. This is how we want you to help us. Is it something that you would entertain as a special project, even as you're finalizing your policies and strategies?
We have already started that engagement.
Okay.
The Minister has led a number of engagements, starting with our first one on the 29th of February. We, as recently, had an engagement where we have brought the transformation debate to the lending institutions. In fact, we had a meeting, again led by the Minister this past Friday, where we engaged the leadership of the banks to say, we cannot be designing programs that enhance or promote transformation, whereas the other side of the coin, which is the funding question, is not being addressed. And that's the focus. But in summary, what we have done in terms of the program design, we are looking at ensuring that we sustain relevant stakeholder engagements. We are engaging our landlords, we are engaging our partners, the property sector, Charter Council, SAIBPP, SAPOA, and so forth, in terms of ensuring that we are relevant in what we are designing, and of course the financial institutions.
Let's hear Vuyiswa Mutshekwane, SAIBPP, one of the stakeholders you are engaging or you're talking to. Vuyiswa, are you feeling this engagement that is going to address the needs of your members? SAIBPP, property practitioners.
Hi.
They include conveyancers, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Vic. Look, I mean, I think our engagement with...
Don't be a diplomat.
I'm not...
I know you. You want to line up with and proper response.
No, not at all.
She's not.
I'm actually far from diplomatic, and I think Paul can testify to that.
Okay.
But I think, as SAIBPP, we have had a long-standing relationship with the department. Even with PMTE. So we have had our on and off engagements with the department, and we've been part of the process. And I think that we are always very vocal and critical where need be, and I think Paul can testify to that. We applaud the progress that has been made with regards to the asset register and the efficiency processes that have been put in place within the department.
Right.
But we do believe that, and as I said, I have discussed this with Paul, I think that we do believe that our members and the industry as a whole needs to be brought along this process and needs to be consulted extensively, and we support the fact that by March 2017 we will be seeing some great progress. But we need to make sure that if we're going to be putting out RFQs and asking for people to come and sign up to be landlords, have we put in the correct measures sufficiently to ensure that these people can actually act on those opportunities?
Have you got set aside? Forget. I mean, if we are about transformation, I'm saying there are pieces of land where we're going to set up schools. There are all kinds of developments. I'm saying we should say set aside any new development on public property will have minimum this target. You already know that the triple PFA was challenged by the BMF,
and it's being repealed now.
It's been repealed, which means there would have been policies that, with all the good intentions, were not advancing or fast-tracking transformation. Zwelitshe on Twitter says, what has government been doing all this time? When does, in quote, engagement stop and real progress begin? Are they serious? And further down he says, what are these associations? That's you, Vuyiswa, associations, including SAIBPP. What are they doing to pressure the industry? That is banks. Why are you being passive? It's been 22 years. And Bongi Nkosi just says, what an insightful interview. Greatly enjoyed it. Well, I continue to enjoy it. So let's talk more about property. 0861-987-000. Tweet at POWERFM987 or at Victor Africa. 0861-987-000. We're talking to the head of the PMTE. That's the Property Management Trading Entity of the Public Works Department, Paul Serote, and Vuyiswa Mutshekwane, who's the CEO of SAIBPP. It's 7:15. Jaden Tager has the traffic. After that, we continue.
Power traffic.
Thanks, Victor. It's very unpleasant at the moment across most of Johannesburg with very heavy rain and flooding as well. The M1 southbound, heavy flooding between Buccleuch Interchange and Parktown. That route, in fact, very standstill going through the Crown Exchange, even up to the Boyson's Point. Also, major flooding on the N3 southbound. Motorists are advised to completely avoid.
We're talking.
At 18:49, we're talking to the head of the Property Management Trading Entity of the Public Works Department, Paul Serote, and we have Vuyiswa Mutshekwane, who's the CEO of SAIBPP. What is SAIBPP? If you don't know by now, South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners. They're in studio talking transformation in the property sector. Zwelitsha on Twitter says, what are these guys not telling us? Why not overhaul the system rather than tinkering? There you go. You see, Zwelitsha now wants to get into studio and talk. Nkuli, welcome.
Good evening, Victor. Thank you.
Is this the president of SAIBPP?
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering when a president is going to call you. Yeah.
I'm on the road, stuck in the storm and in the traffic, so I won't be long. But I just thought I should weigh in on this conversation, and I could hear my CEO being quite diplomatic in her response.
There you go.
To the DPW, this is the Department of Trade of Public Works.
Yes.
Victor, Paul had mentioned some major strides that have been done, that have been taken by the Public Works Department, and they are working on some of them. But I can't help but echo my disappointment because on social media over the weekend we saw a program that went around regarding the engagements between the Department of Public Works, the banking institutions, to address transformation. But this was done in the absence and to the exclusion of us as a stakeholder that represents the black professionals. And yet they had in those discussions an entity that represents white capital. So I'm raising this because the callers are actually saying government is a key stakeholder in this. The banking sector is a key catalyst to opening up these opportunities. Now, we cannot have a government that seeks to see the National Development Plan coming to action and empowering the population, where actually in how they do how they go about it is not inclusive of the entities that are the major stakeholders and the major affected parties. So there's a problem there. But anyway, that we can look into and work on in-house. But it's important that it comes to the fore because social media goes flying everywhere. And the questions we had over the weekend as an organization was, why do we see a program and we don't see SAIBPP on it? Who actually needs to be gaining this access to funding? Right. Is it not the SAIBPP members? Is it not the professionals that we represent? Is it not the professionals from the black conveyancer side? However, on a consumer side, 90% of our population is the African consumer. Excellent. We have to be more conscious about how we consume. We have to be more conscious. You were there when I made my speech about how many hours the dollar circulates amongst Africans, which is 6 hours. Very shy of a 28-day cycle that it circulates in an Asian community, 19 days that it circulates in a Jewish community. They are very conscious about where they spend their dollar and who that dollar is going to empower. We have the power in our hands. As consumers. We have to use our power. Procure consciously. Government, come to the party. Banking association, you are the catalyst. Your attitude towards transformation has to change. I'm not mincing my words. I never did. I never have. I was very vocal about this, even at our convention last week. And unfortunately, I am on Jan Smuts Avenue. I will listen on the radio. I'm caught in the storm, so I can't keep driving and talking on the phone. I'm quite eager to hear all the all the feedback from the radio.
Okay. We appreciate your call, Madam President. Drive safely.
Thank you, sir.
That's Nkulebo Hopa, the president of SAIBPP. She said, okay, Paul, we're going to talk about that, but we have so many callers. Matsepo in Kempton Park, Sweden Short, welcome.
Hi, Victor. How are you?
Fine, thanks, and how are you?
Good. I want to agree with the lady that was on the line just now. I think the banks, they would rather finance vehicles since, black people, we like to shine a lot, and they would not even think of financing a home loan. I work in a bank. I won't say which bank, but I think the transformation needs to happen inside the bank. The people that are credit controllers need to be changed, the way they need to, I don't know, it has to come in the bank. Like, I don't know what can happen, but the system has to change. They just on declining. You do not even have a clue why they always decline. It's just, mayhem. So,
Thank you very much. Let's go to Opa in Pretoria. Sweden Short, Opa, welcome to Power.
Good evening, Bravik. I just have one comment here.
Please.
I'm actually an estate agent myself, but I'm running a franchise. You see, our company have this agreement with the 4 major banks, whereby all the distressed properties they will give to us to sell. And what you were talking about in terms of the conveyancers, they always choose their own conveyancers to do their conveyancing. But now we still have a problem with our black lawyers, because the discipline is something else. Some of them, you put their money in the trust account, they chow that money. And it becomes a problem. They still have to man up their actions and then be counted so that we can move on.
All right. Thank you very much. Professionalism there. Stuart in Oakdean. Sweden Short. Stuart, welcome to Power. Thanks for holding.
Yes, Victor, I have been holding for long.
I know. Go ahead, man. We're really pressed. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Look, I've got one. It's a comment, and another. It's a suggestion, right?
Stuart, make the point, my brother. I'm sorry. We really got to go. We have got a long queue of callers. Yeah.
My first comment is I'll mention in particular Standard Bank, right?
Yes.
They have, when I paid off my property, they actually suggested white attorneys in that regard, and I've actually forced them to change to a person of color, and they gave me an Indian conveyancer. And before, you normally do your transfers and stuff like that.
Yes.
Initially, I got the white person, and the experience is that we black people, and we like to be treated with good ambience and be friendly and so on. So sometimes when you go to these people premises, they don't give you that social thing that you'll get, when they have their Afrikaans counterparts. Herself and Biggie Fun, cook sisters and on and on and on. Right?
Okay, Stuart. So I got to move on, man. I get the point. Sorry, Stuart in Oakdean. James in Pretoria. Let's wrap up this. Welcome.
How's it?
Fine, thanks, and how are you? Go ahead, man.
You know what?
Yeah.
I just want to say our president, what he's doing, he's doing the right thing. However, he's taking advantage of it, doing for himself and his cronies. For instance, he went to a black bank. We must also do that. Go to the black bank. It's a pity. I don't believe that in the stories that black lawyers are somehow not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Even white lawyers are those who are not doing the right thing. Sure. It depends with whom you are dealing with. For instance, this other lawyer who ran away with too much of money of clients to Australia. It is not a bad thing.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you very much, James. Okay, let's get your closing comments because we are out of time. Paul, let me be fair and start with you, because you heard the comments, especially from the president. Yeah. What is your response? And I promise you will find a way of getting an in-dub on this. I'll talk to the management, see how we can do this. But you can tell there's a need to extend this conversation beyond just 1 hour.
Thanks, Pravik. I think the issue of consultations and engagements, we have had ongoing engagements with SAIBPP, and we consider SAIBPP a key stakeholder of us. And in fact, in going to this meeting, we did have a conversation about the reasons why Minister is meeting with the banks. And at the end of the day, it's an issue of saying, when it comes to this particular question, we need to be bringing the hard questions to the people that are currently leading and owning the economy. And I think for us, it was an issue of saying, banks, you need to start looking at instruments that are going to start supporting our transformation objectives, number one. Number two, it's an issue.
Would you hold back your buying power and say, until you show me that a certain percentage of your transactions are going to black professionals, conveyancers and all that, we won't do business with you? Will you go that extreme?
Look, the bank is not a direct customer of ours. I think a provider to us. I think it's important that we look at some of the developments that are happening.
The developers. Would you do that with the developers?
No, some of the developments that are happening in the procurement space in particular. You asked the direct question that says, are we able to set aside or not? And the response came, I think in terms of the current legislation and regulations, we cannot. However, the sections 217 of the Constitution enables us to do a couple of things. Set policy, design programs, which is what we are busy with. However, there has been an announcement by the President that says the triple PFA will be repealed and the current public procurement bill is currently in development. But if I can just make one quick point,
please,
is that it then starts to define the categories of persons and enterprises and the combinations thereof that you can specifically start to target and empower. And I think those are powerful developments that are coming through that we are working on.
All right, you have 30 seconds, Vuyiswa Mutshekwane. Unfortunately, we're out of time. What is on top of your list? 2 points that you would like to address, especially with reference to public works.
Yeah, look, I think that the biggest vehicle that public works has at its disposal is its procurement and how it spends that procurement budget. So, of the 4 billion rand that was spent on leases, we need to get an understanding of who is that money being spent on. And I think to echo our President's point, we need to become more conscious about how we procure and more conscious about how we spend as government. And the government fundamentally needs to start behaving like they are pro-black. We are an organization that represents black professionals in the industry. And we have a voice and we expect to be heard and taken seriously by government. And the sooner the better.
We are going to have a property transformation in I can tell you. It's 7 o'clock. After the news is Masi Chabandlovu with Power Life. Back tomorrow on Power Hour, 6 p.m. Adios.
Power Hour was brought to you by the Industrial Development Corporation, your partner in development finance. To apply for your business finance, visit idc.co.za.
Power News.
The top stories at the Sawa. One person dies on Joburg roads as flash floods continue. The DA's motion of no confidence accused of lacking substance, and Hillary Clinton apologizes for her electoral loss. Good evening, I'm Doris Masbugo. Emergency services say one person has died after floods on the N3 highway by Lakesfield Road near Bedford View. Reports of 70 cars being stuck in the floods are coming in, with emergency personnel on the scene. Flash flooding and hailstorms have caused traffic chaos in Johannesburg, with more reports of cars being swept away coming in. Hailstorms were reported in parts of Gauteng, with heavy flooding reported on the R21, R24 Airport Exchange, the N3 southbound and interchange. Motorists have been warned to drive with extreme caution and to be wary of traffic delays in affected areas. Head of the